Hello, world. Welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. This is a special sponsored presentation by Native Path. I'm so thrilled to welcome into the Joy Virtual Studio once again our very good friend, Dr. Chad Walding. He is one of the founders of Native Path. He is the chief culture officer over there. He's a doctor of physical therapy, a coach, a wellness guru, and he's in charge of all the juju over at Native Path. It's so good to see you again, Dr. Chad. We're going to be talking about today how to have chronic good health and to achieve this naturally, right? And we're going to talk about all kinds of interesting things: circadian rhythm, sleep, the sun, of course, collagen. But first, I just want to welcome you in, see how you're doing. It's good to see you.
Hi Shannon, it's so good to be back. Thank you for having me back. I'm doing great. It's really I live in Austin, Texas. It's starting to get hot in the summer, but hey, it's more time outside. I like it. It's fun. So I'm
Absolutely.
overall I'm doing really well.
Oh, I love Austin, Texas. And yeah, I'm looking forward to lots of blue skies and sunshine. I'm ready for summer. And that's kind of the mission, Native Path, a health wellness company more than a supplement company. You have wonderful supplements, but you are about that natural path, right? And achieving good health the natural way. And to start off our conversation, we're going to get to a lot of these different topics, but I wanted to bring up something that has happened within our culture, within the political sphere just a couple days ago. Bobby Kennedy Jr., right? He is the head of MAHA, and he gets up to
Hmm.
testify on Capitol Hill and shocks everyone by talking about wanting to have every American wearing wearables, which are biosurveillance devices, in 4 years using a massive government campaign and advertising this and that. Well, there's a ton of backlash to that. And it really surprised me. People are like, whoa, hold on, wait a minute. I mean, there are all kinds of issues with privacy and
Hmm.
protecting data and all of those things. But there's also this big discussion on Twitter about just technology and its place, right? Some is good, but do
Hmm.
we want to be wearing devices 24/7, sharing the information about what's going on within our bodies 24/7? And my worry about this, and this is just kind of from my perspective, because I'm a low tech kind of gal, is constant surveillance, constant screening, all of the monitoring, can it lead to anxiety and then, misdiagnosis or overdiagnosis, false positives, unnecessary medical procedures, which, as you know, can have serious adverse events. And then now you've messed with the homeostasis of your body. You're in the medical industrial complex. You can't get out because every intervention has a reaction or some type of adverse or even normal event. But I've seen it a million times with my friends, and this is what goes through my mind. Like, I kind of don't even want to go there. Like, a little bit of screening, okay,
Yeah.
but this seems like a bit of overkill to me. I'm dying to know what you think about this because you are a coach, you're in this space, you talk to people about health and wellness all the time. And I'd love to start there and just have that discussion with you.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And it seems like everything RFK does, like it's controversial. Like people, it gets a lot of attention, and whether you're on the right or the left, like it just gets people going, "Arr!"
Yeah.
And this time with the term biosurveillance device, just the word surveillance, now it's got people on the right in the Maha arena kind of going, "What? What are you doing?"
Big
So I can
time.
give you my perspective, and as you mentioned, I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I'm a coach. I've worked with a lot of people directly, and I lean personally more like you. Like I try to have less screen time in my life. I try to step away from the computer when I'm done working. I turn off my phone. I try to go outside, And in my own health pursuit, I don't really track much, right? Those days of like hard performance, I'm gonna log everything I do. I'm gonna log my steppies. I'm gonna check my HRV, my blood sugar, all of that. Like
So
it's just
stressful.
not me,
Right.
And I go by more on intuition and more on feel, and that's generally where I like to lead people if I'm coaching them. But I also recognize that there's some people that like this is like what they need to give themselves permission to start a health journey. My one of my business partners, for instance, he is just a data guy through and through. He knows everything in the PL and like the revenue, and he just like thrives
Yeah.
on doing a workout and knowing exactly how many calories he burned and like what he's got to do next. So I think for some people it can be appropriate for a short term, right? And I say short term because I think it can create a lot of awareness in terms of what's happening inside our body based on a response of what we eat or how we move or how we're living. But once you have that awareness, I think it'd be good to kind of move away from that and go more on like feel. And I think that's a higher level of awareness in terms of health and what we're doing, right? And I do question like the surveillance
Yeah.
aspect of it. Like what why are you trying to like get all this information from me? What kind of deals are being done with these health tech companies behind the scenes with the government? So I totally understand the questioning. And I think a lot of the times, like what you said, it opens up a Pandora's box. Now that you've seen something, you're just giving me permission to say yes to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And what's the stat? Like the sixth leading cause of death in the United States is medical intervention, and I
Mhm.
would say it's probably even higher than that. And I would also say in many cases, like one of the best things we can do if we're having a health challenge is truly to do nothing.
Mhm.
Like just do nothing and let the body rest. And I say nothing like even eat less. Like let the body process less and let it start to heal itself on its own, and then just give it the most important raw materials, right?
Mhm.
So it's a sketchy thing for sure. I think he's got a lot of people, wondering what's going on. He
Yeah.
gained a lot of trust with the food dye issues, and I think he's looking into autism in a good way. I really do. But this one with the word surveillance, it's got a lot of questioning going on, and
Absolutely.
yeah, that's my thoughts on it, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think our mission is to get every American on wearables in 4 years
Yeah,
is like a mind, like what? Like
right.
make them available to people who want them. I know diabetics who are very, very reliant on certain wearables,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can function and play sports, athletics. We have a good family friend who does very well with that. But this idea that every American, and then, with the recent news, 23andMe selling their company, all of this genetic material to like this big,
Yeah,
massive tech company, and no one knew that going in when people sent their genetic material to 23andMe. I'm sure that they weren't imagining that some massive
yeah.
tech surveillance company was going to have it at some point. So I think this is opening the door. I think there is a new awareness and desire for privacy, especially as we
Yeah.
move in this tech area. And I'm going to be interested in those kind of conversations. It's interesting you mentioned not eating or fasting. I saw something about that
Mm-hmm.
recently, that one of the first steps, if there is a health issue or health problem, is the fasting, which spurs the autophagy, which is that great cell cleaning process that I've been fasting. I've recently begun fasting regularly.
Oh,
I only
nice.
do 3 days. I do it quarterly for 72 hours.
Uh-huh.
Oh, but it's amazing.
It's so great. It's so great. I
Yeah.
love that you do it too. And
Yeah.
that's another controversial topic. Like if you look at like if you Google fasting,
Hmm.
you might get an AI response that tells you like, there's not proven, there's no science behind it. But like when you look at it from like an ancestral perspective, like how our ancestors ate, like they would not have 3 meals a day every day. Food's just readily available in a refrigerator.
Wow.
There's hunting and gathering, and you may go days,
Yeah.
maybe even longer without eating, sometimes without drinking, and
Mhm.
I've experimented a lot with fasting. I've done a lot of 3-day fasts and 5-day fasts, and recently I started doing dry fasting where I
Okay.
don't have any water or food, and I did it for
Wow.
3 days. I did it for the past two months. I got really curious. There's this book out there about fasting created by this ex-scientist from NASA, and I was like, I like to experiment and try things out. And like I said, I've done a lot of water fasting, but when I did the dry fasting, totally different level in terms of what I felt. And it was harder than the water fasting, but like I came out of that feeling so clear, like my digestion was completely uh, renewed. It felt like my joint pains that I was kind of dealing with a little bit completely gone.
Wow.
And there's a lot of statements about it, like you said, with autophagy, building the immune system, rehealing the gut, all kinds of things. And for me, I do have it as a natural practice just to keep myself healthy. And it goes back to like what I was saying earlier. I think when something's going on with us, we have the tendency in our mind, we need to do something, we need to inject something, we need to consume something it just we do it a little bit too much, and I think it gets in the way of our body healing itself, you know. And this comes
Right.
back to like a natural philosophy, obeying the laws of nature, I think is what we're doing here. So yeah, I'm fascinated by fasting as
Yeah.
well.
It
But that's not my statement to say everybody should go out and start fasting. I think
consult with
you're
your
like
doctor.
slow, consult with your doctor, slowly do it. Just skip a meal
Yeah.
and see how that goes for you.
Yeah.
You don't want to start out with like a 3 day dry fast in any way.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's interesting. This is the weirdest thing. Once you start doing it, you're like, I can't wait to fast again because it is that, and you wouldn't think that would be a natural reaction, but the end product, it's a spiritual cleansing, it is a
Hmm.
physical cleansing. I'm a Christian, so a biblical Christian, and
Hmm.
oh, throughout the Bible, I mean, Old
Yeah.
Testament and New Testament, all of these different cultures. I would say probably every major religious culture has built into their ancient texts this concept of fasting. And again, it's natural. It's sleep and exercise, food, sun, naturally cleaning the body. And this is why I mean, this is why I love Native Path. I mean, we've been partnered up with Native Path now for over a year. And we've done a couple different campaigns. I use the hydrate every single day. We're going to be talking a little bit about collagen, the hydration story. I mean, we'll have to do a hydration story one day because I'm
Yeah.
the girl. I mean, I shouldn't admit this, but I'm the girl. I mean, like through my 20s and 30s, basically drank coffee, smoked cigarettes, and drank Diet Coke like all day.
Oh, great.
That's what I did. I mean, that was it. And gummy bears. It was awful. It was awful.
Uh-huh.
And I was saying to my husband just a few months ago, I'm like, I think I've been dehydrated my entire life. Like I cannot even
Yeah.
believe now that I'm hydrated, I'm on that hydrate. It's just a totally different experience. I feel like my brain is functioning better. I can't do it out without it in the morning. That's a side topic though. We're talking about collagen today.
Yeah.
No, I love the products. I would say probably the cleanest, best performing, best ingredients. And for this audience, for the Joy audience, I mean, the best price point. I don't think that you can get collagen. By the way, right now it's 45% off. Get nativepathcollagen.com/joy. Get nativepathcollagen.com/joy. This will be limited time, but they always step up. They always give this audience the best deals. And at 45% off, you can really, we call it a stock up sale. You can go in and stock up on this great product. But let's talk about naturally healing yourself or
Hmm.
maintaining your health naturally. And you have said that collagen is kind of like the number, like the first, especially people over 30 or 40, when you stop producing collagen, it's like the missing link in a
Hmm.
lot of people's health journey. So let's just start there
Yeah.
on as you age, what happens to your collagen. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the science of collagen and why it's important. Then we'll talk about native path and why your collagen is different than a lot of other ones on the market.
Absolutely. So, well, I think what'll help explain the philosophy behind collagen and really native path and all of what we do is to understand what's been happening in the past 100 years, like with the modern diet, right? And the changes that have happened and the consequence that has happened to our health. As technology rises, there's an inverse correlation with health, right? And one of the things that just wowed me so big early on when I started studying nutrition was the work of Weston Price. Have you heard of him?
I haven't,
He,
no.
so he was a dentist in the early part of the 20th century, and his nephew worked for the National Geographic and was going out and studying and living with all these indigenous cultures. And his nephew came back and told his uncle, Weston Price, the dentist, I go to these indigenous cultures and they have like perfectly straight teeth, like something's going on.
Oh,
And this was a time when the food industry was really starting to produce a lot of sugar and
yeah.
processed and refined foods. And the patients Dr. Weston Price was seeing, they were having all kinds of cavities and crooked teeth and whatnot. So Weston Price got very interested about this. And what he did is he dropped his dental practice. He spent the rest of his career going around the world and studying indigenous cultures and looking at what they ate, how they moved, and how they lived. And what was interesting around that time is he would observe also people with the same genetic profile who were living, a few miles away, who had adopted to this modern world, this Western diet with refined and processed foods and sugar and industrial seed oils. What he found was that the indigenous people who were eating their native diets, they didn't in fact have perfectly straight teeth. They had very small amounts of cavities, but they also had very little metabolic disease, right? They had little to
Wow.
no heart disease, they had little to no diabetes, very little cancers, minimal problems with fertility and things
Hmm.
like that. And he studied, I think, 19 or 18 different cultures around the world, and they all didn't eat the same thing. But what he found was all of them ate protein. None of them were vegetarians, none of them were vegans in any way, right? But what they weren't eating was just as important. They weren't eating sugars or refined oils or toxic fats. They were eating a pretty much whole food diet centered around protein, right? And in our
Mhm.
culture, we are not getting near enough protein, and we are bombarded, like in this modern world, bombarded by refined carbohydrates. So we have this big deficiency in what's going on. And one of the things our ancestors got a lot of that we don't get near enough in today is actually collagen. So what they would do is they would take animals, they would take the bones of the animal, they would put it in soups, they would heat it up, they would make broths, right? And they would consistently have broths, and this would give them a lot of the building blocks they would need for a healthy and strong body. And that's what collagen does. It provides the building blocks for things like your skin, your hair, your nails, even your gut lining, your fascia, like all the things inside of you that really keep the body intact. But it's important for your vessels, your arteries, your veins, your heart. Your neurological system is very much supported by collagen. And we produce collagen naturally within our body endogenously, but that production, it begins to decline by about 1
Mhm.
to 2% per year around the age of 20. And by the age of 60, we produce about a half as much as we did when we were in our 20s. So it really starts to decline in a big way. And when it starts to decline, basically our bodies become more fragile, right?
Yeah.
The tendons start to snap, the ligaments get a little looser. You hear things like bone on bone. That's the meniscus
Yeah.
or the actual disc inside in between the vertebrae is getting thinner because the body doesn't have the raw materials. It's not getting enough collagen, right? So
Mhm.
when I started studying this, I really got interested in broth. I started drinking a lot of broth and I
Yeah.
started making a lot. I would go to the farmers markets and
Love
get
it.
bones and things like that.
Yeah,
I would
sure.
encourage my patients to do it, but that's a lot of work. It takes a
Right.
lot of time, and it's, of course, it can kind of stink up the house quite a bit.
Right.
But I noticed that people and myself started feeling a whole lot better when I started drinking broth and getting collagen in my diet naturally. But the easy way is just to start supplementing with it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we do at Native Path. Like collagen is when I say it's the number one thing, I'm a big like efficiency guy, like one thing principle. Like what's the one thing I can do that if I do that thing, it makes all the other things easier or unnecessary. To
Mhm.
me, it's supplementing with collagen because you're getting that good quality protein in that makes the most difference in your body. And when things like your gut lining gets better, you start absorbing vitamins and minerals from your food better. You start eliminating toxins better. When your tendons get stronger, when your ligaments get stronger, you start moving better. When you move better, you feel better. You can experience the world better. So to me, it's a big needle mover that if you use it, a lot of the other things that we may have been doing with our health become unnecessary or not needed
Wow.
at all, right?
Wow. Now, can you explain that one of the things I really like about the native path collagen is it is very different than the wheat, soy, and pea collagen. It's not a
Yeah.
it's a an animal protein as opposed to those other elements. Can you talk about the difference between native path and some of the other collagens on the market?
So whey, soy, and pea protein. Those would all be proteins that I would say are mostly kind of in the post-workout arena or like in a meal replacement arena,
Okay.
right? And they're mostly for specifically for the muscles, right? Collagen does a little bit for the muscles, but it's not so much for the muscles. It's for all the things around the muscles, like
Okay.
your tendons and your ligaments and your bones and your gut lining and whatnot, right? So it's a completely different type of building block. But what's important to remember is that your muscles attach to tendons, which attach to bones, right? So the muscles can only be as effective as the tendon is strong,
Right.
as the bone is strong, as the ligament is strong. You can have all the biggest muscles in the world, but if you don't have the actual building blocks that give the support to the things that the muscles attach to, then the muscles won't be as effective.
Got
So
it.
it's a completely different type of thing. And rather than thinking of it like as a it's not so much used for, I don't use it for post workout. Um, Actually, I don't use much at all for post workout. It's more for kind of throughout the day.
Daily.
And
Yeah.
and people like to use it in their coffee, in their tea, if anything, like pre-workout to help give the tendons and ligaments the building blocks they need to kind of prep. But the intention of it is completely different. And that's because the amino acid profile is different. So collagen doesn't have tryptophan. It has all tryptophan is what's helpful for the muscles. It has all the other amino acids that are important for the structure of your body and really the
Got it.
foundation of your body.
Got it. And it's very not, by the way, that I had the way I use Native Path collagen is every morning in my coffee. And my husband, devastatingly handsome Dr. Joy, okay, he was home. He usually leaves about an hour before me. So I didn't know how he used his collagen, but apparently the guy dumps Native Path hydrate and then 2 scoops of native path collagen in cold water every morning and just mixes the
That's
whole
great.
thing up and just like down. And I'm like, what is this? I didn't even realize that I guess that speaks to the dissolve. I mean, one of the things people love about native path is it like instantly dissolves. You put
Right.
it in liquid and there are no clumpies. And I've used other collagen where
Uh-huh.
it's clumpy. It never quite, there's maybe a little granular kind of taste to it. Not native path. But the fact that he puts it in cold water, I just thought was hilarious. I'm like, you're a barbarian with this. I don't even know what you're doing.
I mean, I do the same thing
He gets it
actually.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. And it works because, like you said, it's tasteless
Yeah.
and it's odorless. So you can already put it in all the things that you're already doing,
Right.
whether it's mixing with hydrate or putting in a smoothie or a tea or a
Yeah.
coffee, or even some people even just like it with water. A lot of people will sprinkle it on their food or in their soups. That's another way to get it.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, but the tasteless, odorless part, and it's colorless too. It's just kind of a like a vanilla kind of color.
Mhm.
All of that speaks to the quality of the collagen and where it comes from, and really the purity of it. So we have this saying at Native Path, like you're not just what you eat, you are what you eat eats, right? So the hydrogen the
Yeah.
hydrogen that we source, it comes from cows that live very good lives, right? They're eating
Okay.
grass, they're roaming hills, they're drinking water, and they're never injected with hormones or antibiotics, right?
Amazing.
And a lot of the collagen out there that you get from Amazon or you might see like in an ad somewhere or even at the grocery store, a lot of it comes from cows that live lives in feedlots, right? They're living in dirt in little close corners. They're really close to each other. They're feeding them grains, and cows aren't meant to eat grains, but they feed them grains to fatten them up, so they get nice
Mhm.
and fat. But
Yeah.
because they're living in close quarters, eating food they're not supposed to eat, they get sick, and they give them antibiotics so they don't get sick, right? And like one
Oh,
thing leads to the other,
what we were
and
just talking
and
about at the beginning of the show. It's like,
right, exactly. So like it's we like to obey those laws of nature throughout the process, like from
mhm.
source to like when it gets to your doorstep. We want to honor like things as naturally as we can. So a lot of the collagen out there, it comes from bad sources, and that will create like a yellow collagen. It'll
Okay.
smell a little bit, it will clump, it's just not as pure. And because of that, it doesn't mix as well, but it doesn't give you the best results. Like you're going to get the best results from the purest cleanest because that's going to be the most efficacious bioavailable collagen that you can take in.
Amazing. Amazing. I've learned so much about, so much more about collagen. I mean, I thought I knew a
Great.
lot, but I mean, this was pretty amazing. We are wrapping up. We're approaching the end of our talk, but this was really, really interesting, to chat with you again about the collagen. By the way, 45% off. Go to getnativepathcollagen.com/joy for that exclusive offer. Wanted to just end on, I had mentioned at the beginning that everything together under the umbrella, right? Sleep, sun, You know what I mean? The circadian rhythm was something I wanted to ask you about a little bit, but maybe we'll save that for the next one because I've heard a couple people talking about that. I'm like really curious about it. So we'll save that for our next discussion. But if you can just give an overall, for the audience, because again, this audience is an intelligent audience. We do lean more towards the natural, and we are very skeptical of the big industrial complexes, whether it's medical industrial,
Yeah.
military industrial. I know personally for myself and my family, the mission for me is to stay out of the medical industrial complex. It is to stay
Hmm.
out of the hospital, to stay out of the doctor's office if I can, right? But to learn enough and understand enough about my own body to keep it healthy chronically, But so
Hmm.
what would you say to the audience in terms of kind of an overall umbrella philosophy that they can kind of move forward with to get started? Because a lot of people, it seems huge, it seems overwhelming, but as far as getting on the path, so to speak,
Hmm.
of good health, what would you recommend in closing that, in addition to the supplements and the collagen that people think about?
Yeah. Well, it's so true. Like we have a health industry that knows nothing about food and a
Mhm.
food industry that knows nothing about health. And if we're not careful, we'll just do what they tell us to do, and we'll end up with a diagnosis and we're taking pills and we're like all of a sudden in a nursing home. Like
That's
we
right.
don't want people to end up in that place, right?
Like the
So
cows. We're like the cows.
like
I
you're
don't want to be
just
like
like
the
a
cows.
cow, right? And that's a good example of like if we honor human biology,
Yeah.
right? If we align human biology with what our genes are expecting of us in the ways that we eat, in the ways that we move, in the ways that we live our lives, we're going to be fine and we're
Mhm.
going to do great. And it's based on these timeless principles, right?
Yeah.
Timeless principles of a whole food diet. It's movement, it's good sunshine, it's sleep, it's human connection, right?
Yep.
Those things right there are incredibly important for our mental and physical health. And if we just obey those laws and do them consistently, like we're going to be fine and we'll have a wonderful life, truly.
I love that so much. Dr. Chad Walding, he is one of the founders of Native Path, and we so appreciate talking to you. Anything you want to promote, any books, websites, blogs, anything about Native Path that you want to plug before I let you go?
Well, let's just start with collagen. I mean,
Let's
my
do it.
my
Yeah.
my suggestion, and I truly say this as a doctor of physical therapy and someone who's now worked with hundreds of thousands of people with collagen specifically, just try it and
Yeah.
try it for 8 weeks.
Mhm.
Do a couple scoops a day, put it in your coffee and your tea, and start to notice changes. Like you'll notice changes in your nails and you'll notice changes in your hair. And you can also rest assured that those changes are also happening not just on the outside, but on the inside of your body,
It's
right?
amazing.
And then that gives you momentum in order to keep going and feel better. And as we say, stay on the path. Get on the
There we
path, stay
go.
on the path.
I love that so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us today. By the way, everyone, get nativepathcollagen.com/joy. Again, we do these 45% off specials, very generous offers from Native Path. So we always appreciate how you guys just come to the table. You really do want to introduce these products to as many people as possible and make it very affordable for the audience to try it. So we appreciate you for that and for your sponsorship of the Shannon Joy Show, because I mean, it's sponsors and companies like Native Path that keep this little engine chugging right along, right? We're independent. We're able to talk about whatever we want, and that's because we have great partners. So, as I always say to the audience, please remember our advertisers and our sponsors because it is their partnership that help keep the lights on here at the Shannon Joy Show. So, Dr. Chad, thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
Shannon. So good to
Okay.
be here with you.
You too. And you guys have a great day.